Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of First Chapter Fridays. My name is Miss Virginia and I work here at the main library in Alameda. So today I'm going to share a book with you. It's called Maizy Chen's Last Chance, and this is by Lisa Yee. It's a really great book. I really enjoyed reading it. It's a story about family, racism, and getting to know people that maybe you don't think you have anything in common with. So let's get started. I do want to read the jacket just to give you a taste of what this book is about. Maizy has never been to Last Chance, Minnesota, until now. Her mom's plan is to stay for just a couple weeks while Maizy's grandfather gets better. But plans change, and as Maizy spends more time in Last Chance, where she and her family are the only Asian Americans, and at the Golden Palace, the restaurant that's been in the family for generations, she makes some discoveries. For instance, you can tell a lot about someone by the way they order their food, and people can surprise you, sometimes in good ways, sometimes in disappointing ways, and the Golden Palace has secrets. So just to give you a taste of what this is going to be about. Chapter 1. The pies were fake, but my grandparents didn't know that. Not at first, anyway. My mother had invited them to watch her work on a tasty, flaky pie crust commercial. When I first started going with her to the set, Mom told me, as a food stylist, my job is to make sure everything looks good for the camera. Oma and Opa showed up directly from the airport wearing matching airplane pillows around their necks. My job was to make sure they didn't get into trouble. My grandmother's luggage had barely touched the floor when she rushed over and, in her excitement, practically knocked me down. Oma's hug felt awkward, partly because of the neck pillow and also because, even though I was 8 years old, it was the first time that I'd met her in person. My best friend thinks it's weird that I don't know my grandparents that well. Her family's really close. It's complicated, I've tried to explain to Ginger, but the truth is, I don't understand it myself. My mom and I talk about almost everything, but when it comes to her relationship with her parents, that's a different story. On the set, Opa beamed brighter than the soundstage lights dangling overhead. "Maizy, you're so big," my grandfather kept repeating, before he got distracted by the pretend kitchen with only one wall. That's when Oma pointed to a tight circle of people. "Shouldn't they be working?" she asked. "Why aren't they working?" Mom stood calmly in the middle while the director yelled, "Charlotte, I need practice pies now." "You'll get your pies," Mom said, motioning to the 24 pies lined up on folding tables. Some were fully baked, others were ready for the oven, preparing for their close-ups. My grandparents watched in shocked silence as Mom's perfectly rounded scoops of mashed potatoes stood in for vanilla ice cream. Since potatoes don't melt. Instead of milk, glasses were filled with glue, because that looks better on camera. Oma and Opa are in the food business too. They own the Golden Palace. That's their Chinese restaurant in Last Chance, Minnesota. Mom once told me, "Maizy, you're the last of the Last Chance Chens." That seemed weird since I'd never even been there. I leaned in to eavesdrop as my grandparents began to whisper. Where did Charlotte learn that? Not from us. It's not real food. When Mom topped the pies with a can of shaving cream instead of whipped cream, Oma looked like she had just seen a zombie. It was all too much. My grandmother grabbed her suitcase with one hand and my grandfather with the other. "Come on, we're going home." "But we just got here," Opa protested. By now he had noticed that the back of the oven was missing and that there was a camera inside it. Before he could say anything more, Oma kissed the top of my head. "We love you, Maizy Chen. Come visit us." And that was the last time I saw my grandparents until today. Chapter 2. An elderly woman is sweeping the sidewalk with a bamboo broom. "Oma?" I called to her. My grandmother drops the broom and clutches her heart. The huge black bear sculpture that towers over her makes me nervous. Opa, she cries into the Golden Palace restaurant. Our Maizy has arrived. From inside, a man's shaky voice calls out, Maizy? Maizy, come here so I can look at you. My little Maizy, Oma says. This is ironic, since my grandmother is only a couple inches taller than me. You finally decided to visit. I don't tell her that I didn't have a choice. She looks much happier today than the last time I saw her, 3 years ago, on the Tasty Flaky set. That commercial landed Mom on the cover of Food Stylists Monthly. But what she remembers most about it is that her parents left without even saying hello. A boy on a battered bike glides past, then circles around, slamming on his brakes. Doesn't he know it's rude to stare? I tiptoe past the scary bear and hear my mother clearing her throat. She's leaning against our Honda with her arms crossed. An assortment of smashed bugs grace the windshield, casualties of our 3-day road trip from Los Angeles. Hello, Mom. She lowers her sunglasses. Maizy didn't just drive herself to Last Chance. I'm here, too. Chapter 3. When I step inside the Golden Palace, the smell of sautéed garlic and ginger reminds me that I haven't eaten in over 200 miles and I'm starving. I look around in wonder. Red Chinese paper lanterns dangle from the tin ceiling. An old American flag with stars missing hangs near a fancy gold key displayed on the wall. The restaurant is empty except for an ancient-looking lady sitting at the center table. She's watching us like we're a reality television show. Maizy, over here! I follow the sound of coughing. Near the kitchen, propped up in a wheelchair, is my grandfather. I smile, but his skinniness startles me. In the photos, he has a big belly. Mom and Oma have emailed pictures back and forth for as long as I can remember, and we talk on the phone. We tried video chatting once, but it didn't go well. All my mother and I could see was the ceiling while Opa kept saying, Is this thing on? How do you turn it on? The emails and photos stopped a few months ago when their computer broke. Hey, Dad. My mother's voice is gentle. She kneels to talk to him. How are you? Fine, good. Fit as a fiddle. Opa grabs Mom's faded Dodgers cap. Her black hair tumbles down to her shoulders, making her look younger than she is. Opa's hair is silver, and even though he's in his 80s, he doesn't have many wrinkles. They make me sit in this dumb wheelchair all day just because they think I'm going to die soon. Opa winks at me. Am I supposed to laugh? Oma hugs me again. Ignore that old goat. Dad, really, my mother protests. You shouldn't say things like that. We had so much fun driving cross-country, laughing nonstop, and yelling out quotes from our favorite movies like Inconceivable from The Princess Bride and There's No Place Like Home from The Wizard of Oz. But the closer we got to Last Chance, the quieter Mom became. She didn't even talk the last hour. My grandfather is the reason we're here. How are you feeling? Mom asks. Opa's eyes slowly shut. His body jerks. What do? I turn to Oma, who says, Maizy, you look hungry. Are you? Call an ambulance, my mother shouts. Dad, speak to me. What? He opens one eye, then the other. He says to my mom, Gotcha, Charlotte. Opa grins at me, and I find myself grinning back, even though my mother is not. In the middle of the chaos, a customer walks in. Oma hurries over and hands the man a red menu. Some of the letters have worn off, so the front reads, Olden Pal C. Is this authentic Chinese? The big man loosens his tie and deflates. My mother nods. My grandmother nods. Absolutely. All our dishes are from ancient Chinese recipes. Good, he shuts the menu. Bring me chop suey and those cream cheese wontons. Chinese food has to be the real deal or why even bother, right? Chapter 4. Oma motions for me to follow her into the kitchen. Fat bags of rice, boxes of fortune cookies, and gigantic jugs of soy sauce rest on metal shelves. Chop suey. she says, snorting. That's not real Chinese food. She stops to hug me again. Maizy. My grandmother reaches for a giant cleaver. I flinch, then marvel as she dices pork, celery, and mushrooms with lightning speed. Using the sharp edge of the blade, Oma slides everything into a hot wok with minced garlic sizzling in oil. The flames roar so high I leap back. The smell makes my mouth water. She pivots like LeBron James dunking wontons into the deep fryer. Magically, they morph from white to a golden brown. Oma hands me one to munch on as she slides the chop suey from the wok onto a heavy white plate. I'm worn out just from watching her. I fan my mouth. I've never heard of cream cheese wontons before. It's so good, crispy on the outside and smooth and creamy on the inside. Dairy products are big in Minnesota, she explains, arranging the plates of food on a big round black tray. So are these Chinese or American, I say. I ask. Yes, Oma answers. Once the customer is fed, she cooks for me and Mom while Opa shares a cup of tea with the ancient lady. Maizy, sit, Oma insists. It's time to eat. We feast family style on platters of chow fun noodles with char siu, barbecue pork, and fried rice with shredded omelet, snow peas, and curls of carrots. Steam rises from the spicy braised eggplant with minced pork. I'm so hungry, but when I pick up the noodles with my chopstick, they end up on my lap instead of my mouth. Oma, can I have a fork, please? Chinese food should be eaten with chopsticks, she says. I feel myself shrinking until she winks and slips me a fork. Don't tell Opa. After we finish eating, I explore the restaurant, leaving Mom and Oma to talk in loud, angry whispers. It took you long enough to get here. I drove as fast as I could without getting a ticket. No, I mean it took almost 30 years. I can't believe we came all this way just for them to argue. My mom almost never gets upset, but when she talks to Oma or Opa, her voice can get tense. I distract myself by looking at the pictures and memorabilia that cover the Golden Palace's walls. It's like a museum in here, only with tables, mismatched chairs, and food instead of art. Wait. Mom tells people she works in the culinary arts, so maybe food is art after all. A faded photograph of a Chinese bride is in a silver frame. A Golden Palace menu advertises full meals for 15 cents. A poster of Hawaii seems out of place. I wander into the little office off the kitchen. There's a pile of bills stacked on the desk and photos tacked up on the wall. Dozens of them, all of Chinese men. The people in the pictures look young, but the photos are really old. Tucked in a corner is a handwritten note. It's so faded I can barely read the words. I am a Chinese American. Come on, Maizy, let's go get settled, Mom sounds weary. The boy on the bike is still outside. We eye each other but don't say anything. Oma makes a tisk sound when she spots the fast food wrappers littering the floor of our car. The house is unlocked. Do you know how to get there? My mom releases a sigh. That's been building ever since we left California, or maybe even before. I used to live there, remember? And I'm going to stop right there. I hope that you will get an opportunity to read Maizy Chen's Last Chance. It's a great story of family and reconnecting with family that maybe you haven't seen in a long time. And it's also, there's a lot of great history in here about Chinese immigration and families that came to this country from China. I hope that you'll get a chance to read it and check it out. It's also available on Libby as an audiobook and as an ebook. So either stop by the library and check it out, or check out Libby and find it there. We'll see you next time for another edition of First Chapter Fridays. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.